In a faraway village, a merchant lived with his wife and 3 daughters. Every year he would travel to the city for business, leaving his wife and daughters at home. Life was peaceful until one day tragedy struck and his wife passed away. As the time for his next trip approached, the merchant grew anxious. He worried about leaving his daughters alone. One evening he shared his concerns with them. "I don't think I can go to the city this year. I fear that something bad might happen to you in my absence." His daughters were saddened to see their father so worried. Business was important, but he couldn't find anyone trustworthy enough to handle it for him. Seeing their father's distress, his daughters tried to reassure him. "Father, why are you so worried?" "My dear daughters," he replied, "I feel uneasy leaving you alone. This city is full of thieves and robbers who might take advantage of my absence. Such people are always on the lookout for opportunities." The eldest daughter spoke up, "Father, we won't open the door for anyone while you're away." The second added, "We'll stay inside the house until you return." After much discussion, the merchant made his daughters promise to stay safe and not open the door for anyone. Feeling slightly more at ease, he left for his journey. Outside the village, a gang of thieves spotted the merchant as he departed. One of them, disguised as a beggar, approached the merchant's house. Standing outside in the rain, he cried out, "Have mercy on a poor soul. The storm is harsh and I need shelter for the night. Please let me in." The eldest daughter saw him and said, "It's a dreadful storm. We should help this poor man." The second daughter peeked outside and agreed, "He's an old man. Father always taught us to show kindness to the elderly." But the youngest daughter reminded them, "Have you forgotten our promise to Father? We can help him by offering charity, but we must not let him in." The second daughter dismissed her, "You're the youngest. Don't tell us what to do." The eldest added, "We're older and wiser and we'll decide what's best." Ignoring their younger sister's warnings, the 2 elder daughters opened the door and brought the beggar inside. They prepared a bed for him and offered him food. The eldest daughter said, "It's such a terrifying storm outside. For a beggar like him, this must feel like heaven." It was nighttime. The second daughter said, "I'm glad we made this night comfortable for the beggar." The youngest, however, replied, "I can't help but think about how upset Father would be. We broke our promise to him." "I don't think helping the poor is the same as breaking a promise," the eldest argued. "But a promise is a promise," the youngest insisted. As the sisters debated, the beggar quietly slipped sleeping powder into the glasses of milk the girls were supposed to drink. Both elder sisters drank the milk and soon went to bed, but the youngest didn't feel like drinking hers that night. She put the glass back in the kitchen and went to her room. The 2 elder sisters fell into a deep sleep as soon as they lay down. Meanwhile, the youngest sister felt uneasy and couldn't sleep. She was filled with dread and kept tossing and turning in her bed. Not long after, she heard the sound of heavy footsteps. The beggar entered the room and the youngest pretended to be asleep. The thief approached the beds of the elder sisters and pinched their feet to check if they were unconscious. They didn't move a muscle. Satisfied that the sleeping powder had done its job, he turned to the youngest sister. He pinched her feet too, but she remained completely still, convincing him that she was unconscious as well. Relieved, the thief began exploring the house, collecting valuable items. His long coat shifted slightly, revealing a sword hidden underneath. The youngest sister peeked through her barely open eyes and saw it. She was terrified. The thief continued gathering valuables and eventually left the room. Moments later, she heard the loud creak of the front door opening. It seemed he had gone to call his accomplices. The youngest sister sprang into action. She got up quietly and noticed the thief had left his sword on the table, assuming the girls were all unconscious and wouldn't need subduing. She picked up the weapon and carefully went downstairs. Once there, she firmly locked the front door from the inside, whispering to herself, "All right, let's see you get in now." It wasn't long before the youngest daughter heard footsteps outside. She knew the thief had returned with his accomplices. When they found the door locked, the beggar became angry and said, "It's all that little girl's doing. She pretended to be asleep and never wanted to let me in. I always had my doubts about her." He continued, "Maybe we can still trick her. She might not be as clever as she seems." The beggar's voice rang out, "Please show mercy. I'm the most helpless here." At first, the youngest daughter didn't respond, but when he kept begging, she asked, "What do you want?" "I left my sword at home. Let me inside to get it." "I promise I won't harm you," the beggar said. She replied, "All right, put your hand through the window and I'll return your sword." She quickly ran upstairs, grabbed the thief's sword and returned to the window. As soon as she reached the window, she struck the beggar's hand with all her might, injuring it. The thief screamed in pain, his voice echoing in the stillness of the night. He tried to break down the door, but it was too strong to be damaged. Finally, as dawn broke, the thieves had to flee. The effects of the sleeping powder wore off, and the two elder sisters woke up. When they heard what had happened, they were astonished. The eldest daughter said, "I can't believe what you're saying. You must be making this up." The second daughter added, "Maybe you just had a bad dream. I had a terrible nightmare myself, and I've had a headache since morning." The youngest daughter showed them the thief's blood-stained hand and the large sword. It was then that they believed her and regretted ever letting him into the house. When the merchant returned from the city and found his home and daughters safe, he was overjoyed. He embraced them lovingly, saying, "I'm so happy nothing happened to you while I was gone. All my worries about you were just my foolishness." The eldest daughter, feeling ashamed, lowered her head. "Father," she said, "while you were away we were in great danger." The second daughter added, "Yes, father. Our youngest sister is much smarter than we are." Hearing their story, the merchant praised the youngest daughter and made her in charge of the house in his absence. If you like this story, please like and share and subscribe the channel for next video. See you in next video. Stay happy.